also.
Okay, I don't accept any advance best wishes. By the way, thanks, Vinod. I told Kali, and he said, okay, convey my thanks to him.
All right, I call this the 13th meeting of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment to order. Maybe start by observing 1 minute of silence for world peace, please. Thank you very much. May I welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Ganesh Narayan from Groceries. I hope most of you know that each one of you are associated with Groceries because every birthday or an anniversary, Kali would have received one today. A mail comes in from Groceries saying that a tree has been planted on this occasion. Wonderful initiative from Groceries, and here we have Ganesh Narayan, who leads the business development for the organization, to talk to us about offsetting climate change with trees. That's a lovely topic. There are a few environmentalists here, I guess, would love to hear that from you. Welcome to each one of you. We have guest Susan, who joined us today. Wonderful to have you back, Susan. Great to have you. Looking forward to you being a part of our club very soon.
Thank you.
In terms of, I think this morning we woke up some wonderful news about our Rotarian Sunil Pai being selected for the World Seniors Badminton Masters. What a wonderful achievement from a really big one. I mean, can you imagine our own club member being selected in the national trials for the BWF World Badminton Championship? And that's going to happen sometime in November. We wish him all the best. I really hope he can bring back a whole lot of medals from there. Looking forward to that. The GOV is on 7th of October, and there are two important days. The next meeting is an in-person meeting. We are having it's a fellowship night, being the 5th Thursday. Club services team has put a lot of effort to bring us all together because we haven't met for a very long time. I think it'd be great if all of us come with our spouses and enjoy the evening. There's some good program planned. Lovely dinner planned. It's going to be at Rotary House of Friendship in Lavelle Road. Please come. There's a change timing which Nanda will announce to you about. We look forward to you being there on the next Thursday. Also, GOV on the 7th of October is another important day. The venue has not yet been fixed. We'll let you know, but please mark these two dates. I would love to see all of you with your hands during these meetings. Over to Nanda for the club announcements.
Well, good evening. To recap the activities of the past week. Last Thursday, the 16th September, we had Mohit Saxena, the program director of Satya, address us on a futuristic skill modeling for the youth welfare. And in the end, Satya did extend an invitation to partner with them. And I'm sure the community, vocational and youth services would be discussing and how to take that initiative forward. The Golfity Committee had their meeting on 17th September to kick off afresh the arrangements to be made for the fundraising event. The excitement is still on, and we all hope and pray that the pandemic doesn't come in the way and doesn't stop us this time. The Youth Services Committee held their meeting on the 18th September at 6 p.m. and the Community Services Committee had their meeting on the same day at 7 p.m. Well, on Tuesday, the 21st September, the ADRAC India chapter, of which our club is the lead club, held a meeting to launch the second chapter at the NCR. Now, as far as birthdays and anniversaries that are being celebrated this week, our Deepda, or formerly Deep Ghosh, celebrates his birthday on Saturday, the 25th of September. And so does our Youth Services Director, Gargi. She also celebrates her birthday on Saturday, the 25th of September. And as far as the aunts and spouses, Kalidas, husband of Gargi, celebrates his birthday today. Well, that's a lot of celebrations in that house this week. So also Meera Bale celebrates her birthday on Tuesday, the 28th of September. There are no wedding anniversaries being celebrated this week. And so wishing all the celebrities of this week the very best in health and happiness in the years to come. Well, as far as the programs for the next week is concerned, the International Services Committee and the Vocational Services Committee are meeting on Saturday, the 25th September, of course, at different timings. Both meetings will be held on the online platform. A visit to Hosur under the leadership of Rotarian Al Fernandez to inspect and understand how a successful self-help group has been operating is being planned for this Saturday. A group of 14 Rotarians and have confirmed their participation to go and witness the operations there. Well, on Sunday, the 26th of September, the District Youth Services ICGF is being held at the Golden Palms. And so far, 5 members and 8 Rotractors have registered for the event. The next weekly meeting, as the President just announced, will be a fellowship night. This is being held at the Rotary House of Friendship on Lavelle Road. The meeting will commence at 6:30 p.m. and will close with fellowship and dinner by 9:30. Do participate and make this event a grand success. So, well, that's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. I just want to mention that about the ADRAG opening of the second chapter. Truly, this is a wonderful initiative being driven here by the ADRAG group led by Sabarwalji. It's a proud moment for us that we are opening pan-India initiatives. The first one was in Madras Coromandel. The next one is in NCR. And I believe the third one is going to be somewhere in Kolkata. So a lot of chapters opening, and it's really a proud moment for us to be a part of this initiative, and much appreciated by everybody in the district all over about this initiative. Thank you, Sabi, for wonderful work that you're doing. Without any further ado, may I invite our Rotarian Jayasuri to introduce Mr. Ganesh Narayan, the speaker for today.
Yeah. Welcome, Ganesh.
Hello, Mr.
Yeah. President Vinod John, ladies and gentlemen. Our speaker for this evening, Mr. Ganesh Narayan, is all of 34 years old, and he represents a generation which is increasingly focusing on what they can give back to Mother Earth rather than what they can take from her. Ganesh is the manager business development at growtrees.com, a pioneering social impact company that is a leader in web-enabled, cost-effective services to individuals and companies throughout the world to encourage planting of trees. Planting of trees has a positive cascading and ripple effect on communities, animals, birds, and Mother Earth in general. Ganesh qualified as a chemical engineer from the Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, and he went on to complete his master's from Florida in the US. He thereafter returned to India and commenced working with the global market research firm AC Nielsen, during the course of which he did stints in India as well as Europe. Perhaps his focus on market research and external focus and his extensive international travels triggered in him a need to do some internal market research within himself. And he found through this introspection that he was very passionate about pursuing a career around sustainability. In other words, what can I give back to Mother Earth instead of only taking from her? Obviously, this is a path much less traveled, but that path led him to growtrees.com. At GrowTrees, as manager business development, Ganesh has worked alongside the best of names in the Indian and MNC corporate circuits, top international and educational institutions, and with best of breed NGOs and government agencies to partner with them on tree planting initiatives. Ganesh will talk to us today about the impact that trees have on offsetting climate change. This is a segment where the objectives of Rotary and the objectives of GrowTrees converge, So we can hopefully look at opportunities to work more closely together. Especially all the more so since the word Rotary and Grotary rhyme so perfectly. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure
Good
to
one,
introduce
Suri.
Mr. Ganesh Narayan.
Lovely, Suri. Over to you, Ganesh. Wonderful introduction. Over to you.
And many thanks for the introduction, Mr. Suri. That was very insightful, and I think that's a great head start to what we are going to look forward in the presentation. So let me quickly share my screen right away. So if they can see my screen, yes.
Yes, fine.
Great. So as mentioned by Mr. Suri, this topic is all about offsetting climate change with trees. You will see that three words will be thrown around in this presentation. One is climate change, one is sustainability, and the other one is definitely trees. So I will touch on climate change really quickly. And I think many of you might be aware that the COP meeting is scheduled this year, but the world leaders are meeting. And yes, one of the biggest topics around the news is climate change. What essentially is climate change? You can see some images below. These essentially represent what our environment, what the earth was going through in the recent years. And previously, it was considered climate change was at some point, but now we do have data to support what we see the impact of climate change. Not only in India, you might have heard about the wildfires in the US, in Siberia, Greece. So these are all clear indicators, with measurement that give us an indication that we need to offset the climate change for our own benefit and of course for the benefit of the earth as well. In the course of the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to button and I can explain that one as well. Now we all have to ask ourselves, what can we do about climate change? Of course, there is always a thought that someone is taking care of climate change. Why should I? But given the extent of climate change that we are looking at, and given the impact on the human race as well, I think it's time where everyone can put their hands up and do their bit in their own way. And here we have highlighted 10 ways, but of course you can have your own ways and can do your own bit towards the climate change. Anything, even a smallest thing about reducing the plastic that we use every day, if not getting rid of everything, all plastic materials. Eco-friendly cleaning products or recycling our waste. These might seem as small steps, but they can go a long way in addressing the issues related to climate change. One very good example during the pandemic is that, of course, many couldn't go out and we had to order in our groceries that were waste. So in this way, once the pandemic is out, we can try using the local grocery solutions that would also reduce the transportation. So there are n number of ways I would say we can do. And one other background is that anyone can argue before the Industrial Revolution, I think India did have sustainable practices which we used to follow before the Industrial Revolution. And now after the Industrial Revolution is developed so far, we are going back to what we can give back to the nature and coexist. So as Suri rightly pointed out, coexistence is the key and the solution to offsetting climate change. how can trees help? So this is the third word I talked about, trees.
Ganesh, is it? I think a slight problem with the audio. Either you can
Yeah.
lean in a little bit closer or speak louder.
Yeah.
Some audio problem.
Okay. Is it slightly better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Great. So I will also. Yeah. Right. So how can trees really help? So we talked about sustainable practices, what we can do in our daily life, but how can trees really help? One of the biggest ways how trees can help is absorbing the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So essentially offsetting CO2 emissions from many industries, the fashion industry, the transportation industry. Most industries have associated CO2 emissions. So that is the biggest impact of trees. They will reduce CO2 and essentially increase the oxygen content in the atmosphere. So that is one. And second is they can also absorb particulate matter, specifically when they're in the cities that are suffering from particulate matter. Many cities in India are because of trees. And third is in many of the rural areas, the water table is going down because of course, increase in population, increase use of bore wells. This is a matter of concern in the long run because the water table has gone down to alarming levels in many areas, and we might not have access to drinking water in the coming years if this problem is not addressed. So trees, once they are mature, they will be able to increase the water table. And lastly, what they can also do is they can offset land degradation, meaning that they can improve the fertility of the soil, increase the nitrogen content of the soil. That would essentially help, even in case of agroforestry, that would help the crops, rejuvenate the soil. You might be aware that if the soil is being fertilized for a long time with chemical fertilizers, it might degrade and not be usable at some point. So this point is also equally important for associated with tree plantation. I'll move on to the next slide. So a very quick gist about growtrees.com. We are an 11-year-old organization, and our company was founded by Mr. Pradeep Shah. He was a founder of CRISIL, the credit rating agency. And he was gifted a grove of trees when he was back in Israel. And he got this idea that why not associate trees with something personal, with something we can relate to every day. And that got to him. And then he started this company where the model is called Greet with Trees. And as Mr. Suri had pointed before, even Rotary Club has been one of our biggest partners who are using this opportunity to greet anyone on any of the anniversaries or occasions with trees, and that can have multiple social impact as we just discussed in the previous slide. So one small act of greeting can have a big social impact was the core of the organization that is spoken. And similarly, many other organizations have partnered with us, one of the big names being the Tata Group companies, the DHL, Bureau Express Limited, and many more. Many international organizations, for example, the World Wildlife on WWF has also partnered with us for planting trees. So we have come a long way, but then there is a longer way to go, I would say. And the contributions and the collaborations are definitely helping us in our journey. So till date, we have planted 9 million trees in 23 states, and this year we are planting more than 7 million trees in India. So we reached 23 states. We want to cover more states next year as well. As I said, I think we already have Rotary Club as our partners, and we hope to, have more partners from more different locations of the Rotary Club as well. There's been a great response from the Rotary Club. And in fact, with the help of Rotary Club Jamshedpur, we have also planted trees in Jamshedpur city. So that is one. And they also use our greetings to celebrate birthdays or anniversaries or any other occasion as well. Companies also look forward to such opportunity to offset their carbon footprint. It is one of the biggest departments that we work with is the corporate social responsibility. It's a CSR department as well. So this model can help in many ways, not only individuals, but also the companies in terms of CSR or HR or marketing initiatives as such. One of the other programs that we have for individuals is having a grow concept, wherein, let's say, if a couple is getting married, they can initiate a grow and they can invite different people to plant in the same grow, which would result in one certificate at the end. So somewhat like a group gifting concept. So that is one other concept that we have. The last one is plant monthly, greet anytime. So this essentially means that you can have a subscription model, something like Netflix or Hotstar, where every month you can automatically contribute toward trees, and you can use those trees anytime to greet anyone. Short glimpse of different projects in India, and you will see that, of course, the landscape are quite different across different locations. And one point which I also want to touch on is we recently completed the plantation in Villupuram district in Tamil Nadu as well. So that is something which might be closer to where you are based. And this is for the Irula tribe communities in the district. So that's and some more images from our model, just to give you a sense of what kind of social impact we try to achieve with our projects. As one is to give employment to rural communities or tribal communities and enhance their livelihood. And we try to prioritize women to get engaged in the plantation, get employment, add additional income to their homes, so that sometimes in some areas they don't have to migrate to a different location to get jobs, and they can get jobs in their own backyard. That is one social impact. Second is to improve the habitat of wildlife in the area. So we do have projects for tigers, we have projects for elephants, wherein we want to improve the habitat of that wildlife. And third is we are also planting in the periphery of cities, for example, Mumbai and Delhi, where the idea is to create a carbon sink when the trees are mature, and so that they can absorb the particulate matter and reduce the same across the satellite cities around that. So these are the social impacts that we try to achieve. Just close visual of the certificate. I think many of you might have already seen the certificate option. One particular feature about that is the locate tree project feature, wherein if you click on the Google Map icon on the bottom of the certificate, then you will be able to see the spots on Google Maps when it opens up in your internet browser. Those spots essentially are reference points to the area where the entire plantation project has taken place. So your trees will be part of the project, but the spots essentially refer to the area where the plantation has taken place. It could be a project of 25,000 or 50,000 trees. But to give you a sense of what location we are planting, our locate tree project feature comes in handy. And of course, it will also have a link to the project location, as you can see here. Click on that. It will give you a comprehensive information on what is the social impact of the project, why are we doing that project, and what type of trees are we planting in this project. Just to give you a sense, we typically plant a mix of fruit trees, medicinal trees, and other resource trees like NTFTs that would be not only beneficial for the community, but also for the wildlife as well, and also restoring biodiversity. That was it, a very short and quick presentation. I'm sure most of you here are a lot more experienced than me and given back to the society a lot more than me, of course. This is just the beginning of my journey. I came back from London in 2019, and since then I've never really had a regret one day of having been part of this journey. So I feel very positive about being part of Rotaries.com and the impact that we're trying to achieve. But I'm sure all of you already have a lot more experience than me, and would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Lovely, Ganesh. Nice and short presentation. Definitely wonderful work that Groceries is doing, and commend you for the initiative that you yourself have taken personally to be a part of this lovely initiative. Great. Now let's open out to a few questions from our Rotarians. You could stop the share if you're okay.
One or two might focus on the projects. So Ganesh, maybe you can also just keep the presentation, or you can go back to the presentation whenever required.
Sure.
So just one starting point question from my side. I think our club's project where where a tree is planted for the birthday or the anniversary of a Rotarian or spouse and the spouse, that is at Villipuram in Tamil Nadu.
Yes, we do have a project there. Yes,
right. And I think I heard you say that was for the Irula tribe, for the benefit of the Irula tribe. I read that somewhere on the website. So how is that project coming along? And that would be of specific interest to us and our members, since our trees are sort of coming up there. We'd be more than happy to know what's going on over there. So if you could share, have you visited that particular site by any chance?
It's interesting to ask that, because the project was just completed a few days before, and we are planting 75,000 trees across different districts, and Villupuram is one of the districts where we are planting 15,000 trees. So this social impact part comes in a big way here, because we are trying to help a tribal community here, and we might be aware that these tribal communities essentially depend on trees for their livelihood. So they would use those, let's say, medicinal trees for their daily livelihood purpose, or the fruit trees for their livelihood, or the other resource trees as well for their own livelihood. As compared to some other areas where the villagers can use it for, let's say, selling those fruits as well. So if you're having like a maua tree in the north, then they might be able to sell those fruits as well. But here it's special because they'll be able to use it for their own purpose, since they're tribal communities and they're indigenous tribal communities. Just to give you some background, they even used to hunt rats and the surrounding areas, and so now we want to make them Atmanirbhar, if I can say that, with trees, with the employment of the assets that we're creating. And interesting, because I will be traveling to Villupuram mostly next week. So because one of our clients, they are contributing towards these 15,000 trees in Villupuram. So I will be traveling there. For the first time, I've never been there. Of course, we have a partner there who looks after the project, but I'll be going there next week. And Suri, I'll be happy to send out pictures or even a video. We have a video compilation of the plantation for this Irula community project. I'll be happy to share that with you. And that kind of gives you an experience, maybe, today's days, it's a digital experience, but at least something we can count on if we cannot go.
Interesting. And just one follow-up point to leave as a future thought. Our club is doing a lot of work with the Siddhi tribe of North Karnataka. And that's another highly, shall I say, deprived or marginalized kind of segment of tribals. And we are, of course, currently looking at things like beekeeping, etc. But I'm sure there'll be some points of commonality where we can, maybe just sound you out and point you in their direction. These are the Siddhis of North Karnataka.
I think that's a great point because we also look for value additions to our projects as well. And last year in 3 of our projects, we also enlarged the water ponds in that area. So that actually added a lot of other benefits. So in fact, one of the tribal communities in Jharkhand, they were able to carry out fishing in the pond, and their livestock was able to access more water. And in Rajasthan, we created a pond that helped them to have a water resource for additional 2 to 3 months. So I think the small act that what you rightly said, it could be beekeeping or any additional activity that could go a long way in having a much bigger impact as
well. May I ask a question, please?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Ganesh. Actually, I was looking at your presentations, and I found that your projects are spread across the country. I mean, if it is in Chhattisgarh, then in Tamil Nadu, all over. I would like to know 2 things. One is, how do you identify these locations? And secondly, what about the logistic management of the entire network?
That's a great question because, the first thing that we look at before starting any project is how can we maximize the social impact in that area. I can give you an example of an interior of Maharashtra. We are planting in Yavatmal state and other districts close to Nagpur as well, where the rainfall is not as abundant as, let's say, in the western Maharashtra. But still, we go ahead and do the plantations in those areas because, the water table has gone down in that area. And also, we are planting trees for tigers in that area. So even though the survival rate may not be as high as in a water rich region like the Western Ghats or let's say the Northeast, we still go ahead and do the plantation because we do consider a threshold that this is enough to sustain the plantation. But the social impact is the key there. So reducing man-animal conflict. We are also planting trees close to Panna Tiger Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. So that is also one of the biggest causes that we work for. So first is the social impact, and second, of course, how can we sustain, or are there any resources available enough to sustain the project? So we see there is a local water body which is close by, or it we transported. So the first year is the most critical year for those saplings, and we make sure that the resources are available before starting our plantation. And third is we always have our regional teams in all of these project locations who can monitor the plantation, sensitize the rural communities, make them understand about the benefits of not only planting but also maintaining those trees as well. So these are the 3 pillars we follow while creating a project in any new location. Of course, if it's an existing location, if we have good results, what we do is expand by planting adjoining areas. So that would help us to scale up the plantation in those areas. So that was to answer your first question. And to yours, I'm sorry, I think I forgot your second question.
Yes, in fact, you have answered both together. My second question was, how do you manage the logistic spread across?
Yes. So the logistics part mainly is concerned about mobilizing people. So that is one, we do it through our regional teams, and also mobilizing the saplings as well. So what we make sure is that the plantation is done in the most robust way, the old school way of maintaining those saplings in nurseries for at least 6 months and then planting them during the wet season, the monsoon season. And these saplings can either be sourced from the local nurseries, that's what we prioritize, so that it can also create additional employment. And sometimes we source from the forest department, and sometimes if not available, then from the private nurseries. So the logistics part is mainly about mobilizing people and the saplings.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any other questions? Prashant, you're trying to say something. I think you're not audible.
I have one question. Generally, Ganesh, for how long do you take care of a sapling? I know the first year is critical, but what is your commitment on how long you're going to take care of the sapling?
So in our traditional afforestation,
can you remove your headphones? Some of your voice is
yeah,
totally muffled. You may want to remove the headphones totally. Just a thought.
Okay. Maybe I'll try that out. Okay, just give me a minute.
Go ahead, we'll manage.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, great. So what we do is we maintain the nurseries for 6 months and then they are planted during the monsoon season. And after the plantation, we also employ the communities to maintain those trees for 1 year. And after that, we also conduct an audit using a third-party agency who would tell us that, let's say, if we planted 100,000 saplings, then they take a sample and they also give us a survival rate of the saplings. So then we know that, okay, this is a location where we have around, let's say, 20% or 10% mortality. Then we would replant the saplings which did not survive in the first year in the monsoon after the audit. So this is a typical engagement, and during these times we will also train and sensitize the communities to how to maintain the plantations after our involvement for their own benefit, because these trees will be assets for them in many ways. That's our model.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ganesh, thank you for that presentation. My question is, how do you assess the impact of this tree plantation? How do you do this impact assessment?
So in, let's say, some of our projects which are, let's say, 6 to 7 years old, we have one good example in Rajasthan, close to the Sariska Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan, close to the Alwar district. So over there, we basically back and see, how what are the condition of the trees. And what we also done is, how the rural communities have benefited from those trees. Have they used the resources in any way or not? And one other thing that we also tested in this particular project is the water table, because we did find that there was an increase in the water table because of our intervention. So that is one positive impact that we have seen. And one other interesting impact that we have seen in this particular project is our forest department has helped us, giving us an update that our intervention has also helped, the tigers actually venturing into the plantation areas that we have done. So that is essentially a positive impact that we would see, because it was essentially for the tigers, creating a habitat for them. Similarly, we are doing a project for improving the habitat of elephants and reducing man-animal conflicts. There is an elephant corridor between Jharkhand and Odisha. So, in fact, last year we planted around 1 million trees in that belt, and this year we are planting close to 5 million trees there. So, what we will do is, in the course of, let's say, 4 to 5 years, we'll go back and see, are the elephants actually using those forests, and are the man-animal conflicts, if any, have gone down. And I can already tell you that in this region, I think after 6 months of planting itself, we could spot some elephants who actually destroyed our saplings, but essentially that's good news because they are seeing that as a natural habitat. So this is how we conduct typically our impact assessment.
Thank you.
Nice. Prashant, did you have a question? Yes,
Hi, Ganesh. I was, see, according to me, it's always been that trees are a natural, they grow naturally, right? Normally speaking. So, in terms of conservation, is that also something which you guys do? Because, planting trees is one, but the kind of ridiculous cutting of trees and things which we are seeing, that is actually the culprit, right? So, are you guys doing anything on that? Like there was a big initiative called Kaveri Calling, which I basically have no idea about, but it was. So I'm just asking in conservation, which is the main thing, because that's where it all starts. So are you guys looking at that? That's I just want to ask.
So I would say conservation is definitely important, as you rightly pointed out. We are mainly into afforestation as of now and will continue to be. I think conservation is something which would require a lot more expertise and experience in that particular space, wherein they'll have to intervene with the activities that hinder the plantation in many ways. So we haven't gone there yet, but we do see in pockets and here and there where there are many organizations who are working towards the conservation efforts. We pitch in towards the afforestation standpoint to offset, let's say, any of those losses. May not be in the same area, as you said, it could be in a different area, but we are more focused on offsets as of now.
Thank you, but I was just to let you off with that, because you guys are so backed with high regarded individuals, and you also have a huge MNC and Tatas and everything backing you. Yes. I think that conservation is something which only you guys can do it. It's not possible by the smaller guys. That's what I just want to let you off with it. Thank you.
And that's definitely a good suggestion, and something that at least we are not doing as of now. But then I think there are some organizations who are doing it. Maybe we'll think of something related to that in the future.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. So thank you once again, Ganesh, for that wonderful information that you provided us on environment. For us is a pretty key area of focus for Rotary. And we'd be happy to do a lot more work with you people as we go along, as we find opportunities to work together. To propose the formal vote of thanks for today, who better than a person who knows more than a thing or two about trees and forests, Rotarian Al Fernandez. May I invite Al Fernandez to propose a vote of thanks?
Thank you, Vinod. It was great. At the age of 82, I'm happy to sit here and listen to Ganesh and strengthens my hope and confidence in the future. It was the work that they are doing, Ganesh's team and Grow Trees, is really inspiring. The words that came through to me were, as far as trees are concerned, one is the future. Unless we think of the future, we don't think of trees. As we used to say, he or she who plants a tree plants hope. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Save trees now, they will save you in the future. The second thing that came through to me is nature. Ganesh, you are doing the work of nature. What greater thing can you do? And nature, of course, is associated with God, whomever you call it, whatever name you give him, her, she, but it's the work of nature and the work of God. And thirdly, relationships. You're building up relationships. And what better symbol than the tree? Because today studies are going on about how the roots of the trees exchange reactions between them. And it's something very interesting and fantastic. Years and years ago, I heard a song which I shall only dare to quote today and maybe end up singing it. It was called Trees. And it starts like this. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. And it ends with the last words of this poem are, and I shall sing it. I have got a little courage after seeing Suri's face smiling. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. I now realize not only God, but also Ganesh, his team, and all the people who are working with him can also make trees. God bless you. And the future of the world depends on you all. Thank you, Ganesh, very much for sharing your experiences. And do come again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Al. That was so refreshing. Wonderful. We didn't know you had another talent which is hidden away so much. We should get you to sing in front of all of us someday.
Next Thursday.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Ganesh. Wonderful to have you with us. We do look forward to associating with you sometime. Do drop in and meet us at Bangalore if you're here in Bangalore sometime. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you all. And next Thursday is the fellowship meet. Looking forward to each one of you being there.